The early 90s gave birth to a lot of memorable and bizarre cartoons. You had shows like Animaniacs, Ren and Stimpy, Rocko's Modern Life, Darkwing Duck, and Rugrats. Shows that were fun, wild, colorful, entertaining, and weird. Enter 1993's VeggieTales, a show so far out there that even with context, the show would still sound really weird. VeggieTales is a show featuring talking anthropomorphic fruits and vegetables conveying moral themes based on Christianity. The show itself is known for its odd, offbeat humor and references to pop culture and current events, and of course, its lovable cast of characters. The show was created by Phil Vischer and Mike Naraki to create children's media that would teach them about the Bible. Originally, Vischer planned on making the main character a candy bar, but his wife objected to it, as she felt that it would be more fitting to choose foods that were a bit healthier, to be a better influence on children. Vischer then drew a cucumber and felt that it was the way to go. Fruits and vegetables were also much easier to animate due to the graphical limitations of 3D software in the early 90s. It was also a lot easier to animate objects that didn't have hair or limbs. VeggieTales actually made history. Toy Story was the first feature film to use 3D animation, but VeggieTales was the first show to be produced with 3D animation. The bizarre idea of talking vegetables teaching lessons on Christianity worked, and let me tell you, there has never ever been a show like VeggieTales. It would probably be best to begin a VeggieTales video by first addressing the characters. The hosts of the show are Bob the Tomato and Larry the Cucumber. Bob serves the role as the straight man and is usually more serious and mature than his counterpart. He tends to serve as the voice of the story, often attempting to steer Larry in the right direction. Phil Vischer described Bob the Tomato as his inner Mr. Rogers. Larry, on the other hand, is more upbeat, energetic, wacky, and a bit scatterbrained. He tends to star in the leading roles, and there's even this arc in the show where Larry leaves and comes back from Danish immersion camp. VeggieTales also uses a character roster, similar to manga artist Osamu Tezuka's star system. Basically, the star system is similar to how a film director would cast actors from a group and assign them to different roles. Tezuka is known for reusing the same characters but in different roles and in different stories. So, for example, the detective in Metropolis also happens to be Astro Boy's teacher in Astro Boy. I guess an American example of the star system would be something like Saturday Night Live, a show that switches out different actors from a group for its different sketches. Using this star system would allow VeggieTales to introduce characters in one episode, and then use them in different roles throughout the rest of the series.
Oh yeah, I have my axe. Not that it'll do any good.
It was entertaining to watch familiar characters in different acting roles. The voice acting behind the characters is also top-notch. I think Phil Vischer in particular is very talented since he plays like half the cast in the show. Also, they somehow got Yuri Lowenthal, an anime voice actor, to voice act in the Pirates Who Don't Do Anything movie. How does that even happen?
Stand firm, men, for the king and Monteria! Ah! Back to the sea, dog!
When watching VeggieTales for the first time, one of the things that stood out to me was how witty the show was. If you haven't seen VeggieTales before, it's weird. It's a really weird show. But it's really creative, and in a lot of ways, it's pretty brilliant. From the food puns, the recurring gags, the absurd topics in each of the silly songs with Larry, and all of the pop culture references, this show is just chock full of humor. And there are a lot of pop culture references. Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, Indiana Jones, Gilligan's Island, Rocky, Batman, Hamlet, The Three Stooges, Jurassic Park, Beauty and the Beast, and Airplane. Yes, Airplane.
Bob, what are the Philippines?
The Philippines are a group of islands off the coast of Southeast Asia, but that's not important now.
This woman has to be gotten to a hospital.
A hospital? What is it?
It's a big building with patients.
But that's not important now.
I think that parents watching this show with their children would probably enjoy it even more so than their kids. VeggieTales would typically adapt stories from Christianity and put its own creative spin on it. And boy, did it take a lot of creative liberties. There is a zucchini that worships chocolate bunnies. There's a retelling of the story of Joseph in the American West. David and Goliath settle things in a boxing match. The Ninevites slap people with fish. David and Bathsheba are replaced with rubber ducks. And there's even French peas that defend the walls of Jericho by dropping slushies on people. And no, I am not making any of this up. VeggieTales definitely wasn't the most biblically accurate, but wow, was it creative.
But I still have a positive mental attitude because of my motivational tapes.
Now here's the part of the video that a lot of you have been waiting for. It is almost impossible to bring up VeggieTales without mentioning the music. Anyone who has seen VeggieTales before will most likely mention the show's music. The music in VeggieTales is an absolute joy to listen to, and it's probably the reason I like to harmonize when my friends and I are playing Rock Band 2. Each song is composed so differently in terms of style, tone, and theme that it just never gets old. Just take a listen to this bit of the opening for 2004's Sumo of the Opera and listen on how the hype builds and builds before the characters even start singing.
If you want to know who we are wrestlers of Japan.
Now I have no idea what the budget was for the soundtrack in VeggieTales, but I've gotta hand it to those composers. They better play Sumo of the Opera at the Japan 2020 Olympics because that's a missed opportunity if they don't. I already paid good money to get my plane ticket and everything. I'm gonna be really disappointed if they don't play Sumo of the Opera at the Olympics. But what really takes the spotlight for VeggieTales' long list of songs are the Silly Songs with Larry. Silly Songs with Larry were segments of the show where Larry, one of the show's main characters, would come out and sing a silly song. Pretty self-explanatory. But what made each of the silly song segments so good were the completely random, bizarre, and out-of-the-park ideas that the show just rolled with. These ideas range from a character not having a belly button, an Elvis-style love song about elf girls, a character being madly in love with a plush manatee, SUVs. There's one song that is told as a slideshow presentation, there's an English lesson, there's a song about pirates that don't do anything, missing hairbrushes, a song that's entirely in Spanish, and of course, the beloved cheeseburger love song. Originally, the Silly Songs with Larry segments were not intended to go on for more than one episode, but after the second episode, fans wrote angry letters asking why there was no Silly Song segment. Vischer and Naraki decided to bring back the Silly Song segments, and yeah, that was a good call. Okay, so you're probably asking,
But, Seth Senpai, you're in your 20s. Why are you making videos about children's programming that involves talking vegetables?
well, it's mainly because my friend Will texted me and some other friends at 3 in the morning one weekend asking what our favorite VeggieTales episode was. And then I was like, oh yeah, VeggieTales was a thing, I remember. VeggieTales had a pretty big impact on me as a kid. A lot of my humor and musical influence is, strangely enough, thanks to VeggieTales. And regardless of what my religious beliefs as a kid were, or what my beliefs will be like in 10 years from now, I can't deny that this was a pretty clever show with a lot of love and care behind its production. For whatever reason, Christian media tends to be pretty, well, not very good. Like, really, really not good.
You are the board, I charge you with the...
But I'm pretty sure most people would rather sit through an episode of VeggieTales than have to sit through this movie, the sequel to this movie, and a bunch of other cringy films. I'm still pretty salty that the 2016 Seth Rogen remake of VeggieTales is absolute trash. The appeal to the new VeggieTales remake is that there's animated characters who cuss a lot. Wow, animated characters who cuss a lot. Wow, how original. I've never heard anything like that before. You know, the 2016 Seth Rogen remake of VeggieTales was so bad that I could probably make a better movie by filming random vegetables. Hey, you know, that's not actually a bad idea.
Hi kids, I'm Bob the Tomato.
And I'm Larry the Cucumber.
And we're here to make you think about church and God and stuff.
Oh boy, Bob, I just love going to church. We are the French peas, and we do not like going to the church.
We shall skip church all of the time.
Again, French peas, this is the 4th time this week you've skipped church.
Well, you remember what the gospel says about skipping church?
Oh ho ho! No, we do not, because we have not been to church, because we have skipped church.
Aw, come on, French peas. Now that's just bananas.
No, we are not bananas. Those over there are bananas. I love the word bananas.
I need a Tums. VeggieTales has a very personal, nostalgic feeling for a lot of people. Everyone has a favorite episode, a favorite character, a favorite song, and a favorite silly song with Larry. It's a great conversation starter for when you meet that cute girl at the bar. And while we're here, A Snoodle's Tale, Khalil, Promised Land, and The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything. So after watching this video, even if you're in your 20s, go home and watch some VeggieTales. What's not to like?